Welcome to the Steve Show. Today I have Yasmin Nguyen here with me, and we're going to talk about a lot of different things. But one thing is having five businesses, being stressed out, not even knowing if he really wanted to live any longer, to then transforming his life, and now he's on an 18-month road trip, sharing joy with the world. Let's talk about this. Yasmin, thanks so much for coming on the show. From the minute I met you, I was like, okay, with like kind, I'm like, I like this guy, and I felt compelled to have you here so we can hear a little bit about your story, and I know we're gonna have cool things to talk about.
Yeah, so. Thanks for having me, Steve. This place is gorgeous, and what a great place to connect and share time with you. So thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. I'm excited. Why don't we just start off with how you came down here? Because I met you in Portland, and now here you are in California, and you're just on this beginning of this epic journey.
Yeah, that's right. I'm just starting off on this 18-month tour across America on this project called the Joyful Living Project. And really it's just about getting out there and discovering how we're experiencing joy in all these different ways, and to show people that there's a new possibility to focus on that rather than all the negative and other things that's really stressing people out.
Right. And that's where, for me, I personally don't watch the news, and, it's not like, at the beginning I was like all positive. I wanted to like repel anything negative, but, I know that, even if you look at yin and yang, there's going to be a little dark in the light, and there's going to be the light in the dark. And we need that, we have night and we have day, all that's part of our life. But I think it's where we put our focus. And I do believe we're co-creating all this. So the more people that are following their joy, and as you're on this mission, I'm so happy that you're doing it, and thank you, because I think it actually is creating movements like that will actually help the whole world.
Yeah.
One person at a time, right?
It is, and just showing people that joy is just right in front of them. And I remember the first time that we met, it was such a joyful experience because you've shared so many aspects of just yourself, but your stories as well too, and the kindness and gratitude, and that's part of what I'm excited about, is to connect and share more of those experiences and people.
That's awesome. So how are you doing this? Like, how do you just pick up and say, oh, I'm going to leave for 18 months? Like, I'm sure people wonder, because like a lot of people are, oh, it must be nice. But, how you made a choice in your life, and maybe just explain like how this came about.
Yeah, this actually just came about. It's probably 120 days ago. So,
okay.
When we first met, the idea of this didn't even come about.
Okay.
And I was actually at a coaching immersion retreat with my coach. We were up on our way back from Canada, and we spent the entire weekend just planning out my speaking and coaching business. And then we were on the ferry, just started talking about some friends and people we know who were just traveling. And I thought, what if I spend a month somewhere? And then I thought, well, what if I spend a couple months? And then I realized that my lease was coming up in September. And I was like, what if I just took off for a year? And in that moment, I literally had a panic attack because it became so real. And over the course of the next 60 days, I started thinking about all the things that I'm already doing in Portland, Oregon, which is where I'm from, and how can I incorporate that and start reaching more people and sharing that as well. And it just all came together.
Wow.
And back in the day when we used to listen to radios and have the dials, it was like when you finally click onto the right frequency, everything's just like that, crystal clear.
Clear.
So
that's beautiful. So and then you were able to take action with it. So you just see that, because people will see it, and then sometimes they won't even act on it. But that wasn't even with that panic attack. You're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be real.
Uh-huh.
So
yeah. And I still have those days when it's like, what am I doing? But I feel like the last 15 years has been preparing me for this journey. And sometimes when we have that calling that just keeps coming back and says, you got to do this, why not now?
Yeah, why not? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a big thing that I talk about so often, is like, live your life. And really, you're feeling that calling, so you're listening. It's almost being true to yourself, really. Because ultimately, that's what I found so much in my life where I was in pain, was because I was doing what I thought I should do instead of what my body was telling me to do. And and that's why I don't like the word like no pain, no gain, because we're actually basically disobeying everything in our body. It's like, you know, putting your hand on a hot grill. Your body wants to move away. And so that's where these discomforts come. And then when it's just true, it just kind of, like you said, it just comes clear like the radio station. Woo. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, I've experienced a lot of pain myself all throughout my life. And coming here as an immigrant from, you know, another country, it was about trying to fit in and trying to prove myself and not really even knowing who I was. And that pain I've discovered really comes when we're out of alignment with ourselves, with our relationships, and you know, with our work as well too.
Absolutely. That's a huge word for me. Even to put it in a metaphor, I would say it's like being on the rails. Like if you look at a train, if it's on the rails, trains don't do so well off road. Like, you know, they just collapse. It's a mess, right? And we never want to see that. And when we do, it's like a catastrophe. And that's what happens in our life when we try to take the train off the rails.
Yeah.
And when you just follow your heart's path, you know, then it actually just comes, and it's actually what you want. Like somehow you already know what you want.
Yeah. It's we know what we want, and I've discovered that it's just layers and layers of socialization and other beliefs that get in the way of us actually seeing that and being able to create space to discover that again, getting that clarity. Right.
Well, and so it wasn't always like this for you. Like obviously you're making these decisions. So, you know, I guess maybe take a minute what it was like, and what I'm most intrigued by is like what allowed you to make the transition to think the way you are, to like say, oh, I'm just going to live my life. Because, you know, were you always living like this, taking action on what your heart really wanted, or?
You know, I've been an entrepreneur for almost 20 years now. And when I left the corporate world back in '99, I got clear that in order to really have the life I wanted, I need to take action. And but most of my life, I felt like in order to fit in and in order to feel important, I had to achieve. I was your classic overachiever. And so I found myself about 5 years ago. I had 5 different businesses I was trying to run at the same time. Oh my gosh. I know it was crazy. I had like 10 tenants I was managing for my 3 rental properties, and I had a web design business, a social club, a food business that I was launching, and an e-commerce store. And I did all these things because I didn't know what I wanted. I was chasing these opportunities. Major case of FOMO, fear of missing out. Right. And I just reached a point one day when I was sleeping in my office. My relationships were suffering. My health was failing. And I was just in a really dark place. And I every day I woke up, I was in so much pain. And I just remember one day going into my office, and I was sitting there at my desk, and I just couldn't work. I was completely paralyzed. And I just had this feeling like I should just drop everything and hop in my car and drive as far west as I could. Again. Right. I know. There's this theme. And so I just needed to escape, and I ended up out at the Oregon coast. And the minute that I got there, and I just took off my shoes and my socks, and I buried my toes in the sand, I just felt this moment of peace and calmness again, and something that I hadn't experienced in for a while. And that's when I started to make a commitment to return to this place the next week, and then the next week, and the next week. And a year and a half had passed, and I'd been out at the coast 52 times. Wow. And that practice of creating that space and going out there allowed me to get clarity on what was most important. Right. I got rid of all my businesses. I started all of them, and started fresh. And then I started to heal my body and rebuild my relationships, and essentially I started to listen to myself and figure out what was most important. And from that place, then now I started to make decisions based on a place of alignment, rather than I need to do this, or I got to prove myself and do this, and all these things. Right. And so you, and thank you so much for sharing this, because so many people are thinking this, you know, so as we share our stories, we can help other people make new decisions in their life. So when you, just to get a little specific, so when you sold all the businesses, that gave you a little bit of cash to take a break and be able to survive and then do it, or were you like freaking out, like a little bit on the financial side, like, or was it cool? Like you were like, oh, I have 6 months and I can figure this out, or what was it like? I was totally freaking out. I mean, the reality is, I mean, I did buy myself a little bit of time. Right. But kind of cashed out a little bit. But at the same time, I had to be really mindful of like, what where do I want to be? What do I want to do?
Yeah, there's only so much time, right? No matter how much money you have, like depending on what you're spending and all that, you know, it's like a business. You know, if you're starting a business, what are you burning?
Absolutely.
You know, what amount of spending? So
yeah.
So you kind of bought yourself a little time. You had a window, and then that's where that window you took care of yourself to find what was the thing for you.
Right, and it was more of the cost of my well-being and my happiness. That was what was more expensive than the financial piece, and
which more people don't notice.
Right.
I mean, that's why I'm zeroing in on like what people are going to ask, but then that's huge. I don't want to let that pass by here, so I'm just going to repeat it. So your well-being and your happiness was costing you more than any money that you would lose by not having those businesses.
Absolutely, yeah.
How did you determine, like, what made that choice? I mean, it was just so strong inside of you that it was like, this is what it is.
Yeah, it was so strong, and you know, when we are in this place of just constantly feeling overwhelmed and stressed, and to be able to witness the contrast of that, the yin and the yang here, you start to notice, like, do I want to feel this way, or, you know, what is it costing me? And so I just started to just be more aware of that.
So just to zoom in even further, was this a progression over time, or was it like a turning, was it like a moment, like a minute, and you're like, that's it, I'm done? Or did it like slowly enter? Like how did, because this is a major transition. I mean, you're like working about sleeping in your office, 5 businesses. You didn't even say, I'm going to keep this one.
No.
You got rid of all of them.
Yeah.
You know, I would have thought maybe I'll keep the property one, you know, I don't know, but you just got rid of everything and then started anew. So how, if you could zoom in for all, because I think this is helpful for people watching and listening, where was that, do you know, was there a moment, or was it over time? How did it happen?
It was over time, feeling this it's like, what was the story where you put a frog into water and you just slowly turn up the heat? He doesn't know it until then.
Right.
And so it was definitely over time, but then you know, reached a point where it's like, that's the tipping point right there. And that was when I had to take major action. And
was it like an illness, or you just sort of totally stressed? Like what was it that made the action so necessary?
I mean, it was totally I was totally stressed. And I remember one day specifically, you know, when I was walking to my office, I was standing there at the intersection, just waiting for the light to change. And I was in so much pain. And all I could think of is like, what do I need to do to get rid of this pain? And I saw this bus coming. And I thought, what if I just stepped in front of this bus? Maybe that pain would go away. And so I closed my eyes and I took a deep breath, and I just had this feeling like I should just give myself one more day.
Wow.
And it was in that moment that I was like, you know what? Something's got to change.
Right. That's a big awareness. You kind of had 2 choices. Like, am I going to continue on this path, or am I going to be going? But they're putting internet in, that hammering back there, which is a good thing to have internet in the wilderness here. And back to this, right at this emotional moment, but you're saying, oh my gosh, do I want this life at all anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, what a line to be drawn. And so many people have this turning point, and you chose. What is there anything that made you think one more day? Like,
I just felt this feeling.
Okay, that's good.
And just a voice. I don't even know if the voice was actually myself or higher spirit or whatever it was, but just, you know, give yourself a little bit more time.
This one guy that I worked with, he was in a big office building. I don't remember how many floors, you know, mega floors, and you know, tons of businesses in there. And he walked into, as he was getting in the elevator, there's a woman with like tons of coffees, like 2 handfuls, and you could tell she was like a runner for the office. And then he just looked at her and he said, hey, how are you doing today? And he just made full eye contact with her, and she said, you know, like, okay or something. He doesn't even remember what she said, but he definitely significantly remembered like looking at her and making a quick connection. But then he went off to work, didn't think of anything. A week later, or maybe the same week, the end of the week, this same woman came up to him, looked at him and said, I just want to thank you so much. That day I was deciding to commit suicide, and because no one notices me, that was it. And the fact that he noticed her in that random moment, so you never know, you know. So that's why You know, it's a big topic. It's a tricky thing. You know, like over the years, I've heard some people say, don't talk about suicide because they say when it's on the news, then it goes up, but it keeps going up. So I don't think whether we talk about it or not, you know, and even I did do you remember the 22 push-up challenge?
Oh,
You see it? Yeah, so I did that. I got, you know, 22 veterans take their life every day.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, this is something to talk about, and you know, and this is even just the story. But if people knew they could just choose their life, I find so much that we're in our misery because we're choosing someone else's life.
Exactly.
If, in fact, personal development, when I first started, I thought I was paying the money or doing work or going to workshops so that I could actually be a better me. And now I don't believe that at all. I actually found I was letting go of all the things I thought I should be, all the armor that I was putting on to protect myself, so I couldn't get hurt, or like I was basically putting on a costume to be what other people thought I should be, or what I thought other people wanted me to be.
Yeah.
And the reality, all the work I've done on myself has been to let go of all that so I could actually just be Steve, and that you could see me, and that I'm okay that you see me. Because I also believe if I don't let you see me, I can't see you.
That's right.
The wall goes both ways. If I put a wall up, I'm like, oh, I can kind of see Yasmin. Like, oh, who are you? And so I think this is a big moment, because if we all start to really listen to our heart, you wouldn't have the feelings of walking in front of a bus.
Yeah.
Because that's where it starts. Like, you know, you're probably miserable because you're living someone else's life, and that sucks. You should be Yasmin, I'll be Steve. Let's just do
absolutely.
that.
And I didn't even know who Yasmin was at that time. And because I started making time and space, creating that practice, that allowed me to be able to start rediscovering that.
And that, because it's so noisy. It's so loud, and there's so many activities that you have to do. I have to do this for this business, this one. I did the same thing, multiple, because, you know, when I was younger, it was like multiple streams of income.
Right.
And then no one told me to build one at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my next book, One Thing to Win, because I don't think it's spoken enough. Yeah, having all these different streams of income can be stable, but you don't build them all at the same time. So I went through a similar story, and you... when you find a connection to you, which takes time, and it takes stillness, and it takes time going to the beach. So I meditate every day. So some things could be busy, but like my peace inside myself and my direction, and I listen, and now I get full downloads into my, you know, from myself of what I need to do, and I feel it, and I can feel it inside. I'm like, that is my true north. That's where I'm supposed to go. And I did not hear it at all. It was so noisy in my life. There were so many checklists and so many things to do. And this could be anyone. You could be an entrepreneur. You could be an executive somewhere. Like, I mean, this speaks to everyone. You could be a student. You know, the stress that goes on in college. And then even now with millennials, they say the stress is getting to a higher level because they think, oh, I graduate and I'm supposed to go make $100,000 a year. And like, oh, poof, I'm just going to get a career. And this is where we get stuck. And then you're living some of those, you're putting on a costume.
That's right. Right, you had comparison and all these things, and you've lost touch with who you are, and that's where I'm really passionate about, you know, this project, and also helping people create that space, but intentionally filling it with our mutual friend Chris always uses this term, life-giving experiences, rather than just creating space. And that intentionality, then I call the retirement day practice idea, is
that's what caught my ear when you started saying that. Yeah. So explain that, the retirement.
So I remember one of the times when I was sitting out on the beach on a Wednesday, I would go during midweek to avoid traffic, and I thought, I guess this is what it's like to retire, even though I'm, you know, years from it as well as financially, but I started to accrue these days over the course of a year, 52 days of retirement, you know?
Wow.
And so the whole concept of what if we created this space? It could be a day, it could be an hour, it could be a minute, it doesn't matter. But it's about creating that space and then being very clear and intentional about filling that space with things that bring us, you know, joy, that bring us connection, bring us freedom, gratitude. And so being mindful of that creates a shift in us because we've made space for ourselves.
Absolutely. It that I 100% believe in, and you had these 52 days, and I also even bring it up in the micro moments. If we allow our whole day to be taken away by business or our career, it will absolutely done. If you're like, oh, I have to get this done today, but there's no timers on it, you can take the whole time. It was the moment that I actually made time, and the best way to do it was to plan my fun. That's what I would say. Plan your fun, put that in, and then now, guess what? Now you are going to say, I got to leave because I have this date with whatever it is, like with a date with yourself to go to the beach, a date with somebody else to go out and do something, and you're going to get things done.
Yeah, yeah. You totally get excited about that.
Look at all the have-tos in your life and then really reflect and say, and ask yourself, you know, if you knew you only had like 30 more days to live or a year more to live, like, would it be a have-to anymore? And you know, and it's tricky for everyone. The belief system's going to be different around it. And I can even say, like, when I finally committed to say, you know what, even if I make less money, I want to be with my family more. I want to be with my kids, and I want to live. The craziest things happen. All the things start to come into alignment, and my businesses actually grow. And you know, and it giving me all the abundance. And you know what I do now is I'm a father. I'm here for my kids, and those are the people those are my biggest clients, right? Like, I'm teaching and being with them, and then the rest of the time I'm teaching. I'm, you know, giving the world. So I get to do this every day, and I look at that. It's like, when you have purpose and cause and you really stay in line with it, like, the universe does provide. The abundance just comes. And sometimes even in this period of time, I even had my bookkeeper like, oh, add the numbers up again. There can't be that much, you know? But like, it just seemed like more money was even coming into my world. But it's like, in a way, knew that I was going to use it for good, you know, because, you know, I've heard many people say, you know, even people very much into philanthropy, they're like, no margin, no mission. You know, like, if you don't have a revenue coming in, how can you fund your mission? You know, or you're going to be looking and seeking others. There's always some sort of fuel, whatever it is. It doesn't always have to be money, but something that allows it to happen. And I guess what I'm getting at is, when we're in this alignment, it just all of a sudden has come. And the more clients I teach this to and they follow it, it just comes.
It does. It does. It's like magic, but it happens.
It's so many. It's like the signs you brought that you're bringing around. I think the one that says "trust yourself," or whatever. I don't know if you could. But yeah, here's one. Be you. This is what we're talking about. He's Yasmin and I'm Steve, right? You know, so that's a huge one. Who else would you be if you're not yourself? But a lot of us are not being ourselves.
Yeah.
And then share yourself. That's what you're doing today. And thank you for sharing today. Without, you know, I'm so open to talk about my life, and then when you come here and you talk about your life, it makes all the difference.
Yeah.
You remember, if I'm seen, if you're seen, then we're giving hope to other people.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, I don't know if you want to share, but like, you even told me, like, it was so close to not even being here, like you and your family, to be able to even make it to this part of the world.
Wow.
I don't know if you want to share. If
Happy
that's appropriate.
to. Yeah. I mean, part of the inspiration and the motivation and the gratitude for why I'm taking this tour and discovering and sharing joy is the sacrifices and the courage that my parents took for us to be here in America. I mean, we left the country in 1978 when the communists had taken over part of Vietnam and Americans had left. And so fearing our political prosecution and potentially becoming orphans, my parents decided to you know, take a risk for a new life. And so we hopped on a boat and floated in the middle of the ocean, and our boat started to sink one day, and we were fortunately rescued by the kindness and generosity of an oil tanker that was nearby, and then through the help of a nonprofit, we were able to eventually come to America. And during this journey, my dad was separated from us, so we didn't even know if he was even alive.
Wow.
And fortunately, everything did work out, but we know that for so many people that it didn't work out.
Right.
And so when I think about everything that my parents did for us to be here, that's what drives me to show people that we have a choice for kindness, a choice for gratitude, a choice for joy versus something else. And I'm so grateful to have that choice.
That's you're so true. I just this year was with another man that came from Vietnam, and they did not have a nice boat. They still made it alive, but it was pirates, and they had to give up a lot of stuff. like horrific stuff we don't even need to mention, but it was bad. Yeah. So it gives you more, and everyone has this from whatever level. Like here you have these, this, not everyone's gonna have this story, but other people have that story. My wife was just telling me recently she loves Ancestry and looking at it, but I want to say it was out of Ireland. It might have been some other country. I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure it was European. But they were like, boats were leaving, and they threw their baby onto the boat. Like just threw their baby, and it was like too late because it was already going off the dock. So these were like larger ships, just to say, take my baby to a better place. Just stories like that. And from my family, Italian descent, like some of our family, like some of my great aunts, like some of my cousins that I've met in different parts of the world, Australia and the United States, they were just told by their moms, leave right now, and they never saw their mom ever again, or the parents, but it was like, they knew it wasn't good. And, this is like pre-World War II and all that stuff, and Mussolini, and they're just like, this is not a good place to be. And so they're just sending their family off and saying, go, just because you want your kids to live. So what will you risk, being a parent? I know, like you want whatever you can for your kids.
Absolutely.
So a lot of gratitude for your parents, and that you have this opportunity to now take it. And I'm so happy that you're taking it so serious and taking this to the world, and saying, look, we can be happy. Look at my story. I started with 52 days out of the year, and now you're taking 18 months.
Right.
Just amazing. So yeah, I'm so thankful that you came to share the story, and I'm thankful that you're thank you for being you, and that you're going to go and continue to share this story around the country, and this will be worldwide because you're documenting it, right?
Yeah, documenting the highs and the lows, and really showing that this isn't. It's not about me. I'm the curator. I am the catalyst. But this is really about us, and showing that we all have an opportunity to make a shift, like right in this moment, right now. Even sharing this time with you is extremely joyful, and the insights and the things that we learn from each other, we can have a similar type of conversation.
Right, and reinforce one another in everything that we're doing. So on this journey, I sometimes like to ask, like, if we never got to see each other again, or even if this audience only heard this one thing from you, if you were to leave one nugget or one thing, what would be the one thing that you would want me to know?
Wow, what a great question, man. Okay, just embrace the moment. Embrace the moment. Really, with everything that can be wrong, embrace the moment of what's possible. Right now, and just choose joy, choose kindness, choose gratitude. Make those choices.
That's beautiful, and it sings to me, because that's why I say gratitude. And when I say gratitude, I say have gratitude for all results. All results, meaning the ones we didn't want, the ones that we did want, all of it. Because that allows us to make the next choice, and that's what creates the momentum in our life. This all is learning. This whole experience that we're in this human experience, is just learning. I used to say I'll learn until the day I die, and I don't even believe that anymore, because I think the day I die I'm going to learn more. Probably like, who knows, mind blowing, because it'll just be download. Energy release.
Right.
Yeah, and just super connection to everything. Right. It's amazing. So I'm so grateful to have you here on the show, and I look forward to connecting. So for the audience, like, we'll be able to connect. Like, what's the easiest way? And we can put a link with the show, but like, what's the best way for them to follow your tour? And like,
the best way is to hop online and follow the Joyful Living Project.
The Joyful Living Project, okay.
joyfullivingproject.com, or on social media, it's Joyful Living Project.
Perfect.
All of the different channels as
well. And we can connect that with the episode. That's perfect. Awesome.
Well, thank you so much, Steve, for the opportunity to be here and to share with your audience, and just the work that you do. I mean, just who you are and the role model that you are. It inspires me, and I know so many others that it inspires them too.
Well, thank you so much for those kind words. I'll gladly receive them. It drives me to keep doing this. So, and that also coming to all of you, if you've gotten value from this, and I hope you got some great, I'm sure there's some amazing things listening to Yasmin. Please let us know. Comment like what was the biggest aha, or what was the most valuable moment, and then ask questions. And I know Yasmin's gonna be super active on social media, so both of us can be there to connect, answer questions. And if you love this, please subscribe. We'll have more amazing episodes just like this to come your way. And so, as always, remember, choose gratitude and create freedom.